A very warm welcome to StudyIQ, my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good. Today is 19th August 2020. Day is Wednesday. I would like to start today's discussion with this quote or this saying, a very famous saying, right? A very famous line that don't cry over spilt milk. And this line or this quote reminds me of an incident that I read a few years ago in a very good book. I don't remember the name of the book, but I do remember this incident that I think it happened with, if I'm not wrong, with Thomas Alva Edison. And the place where he used to work, like his big lab, caught fire and everything was destroyed. He was standing out of it. He was watching everything burning and turning into ashes, and his missus arrived, and she was a bit worried, and she said that we have lost everything. But Thomas said that no dear, we have not lost everything. In fact, this fire has provided us a new opportunity to start everything from the scratch. We'll start everything from the scratch with a new vigor, with a new attitude. So this indicates his positive mindset, right? The thing that is gone, right? Don't hold your past in your present. Let it go, right? You have your present moment. Start from the scratch. Start with a fresh or with a right foot. With this, dear friends, today on our table we have so many interesting articles, right? I can safely say that everything is new on our table. We have not talked about these topics in the past, so we are going to learn so many things, new things today. So without wasting any further time, let's quickly crack on. But before that, a very important thing. If you are preparing for Civil Services Examination, UPSC, then your search for best course is over. StudyIQ has launched a smart course. This smart course is designed by some of the best faculties of our country. You can find it on our mobile application. A good news is that till 31st August, EMI offer is also going on all our smart courses. Make the most out of it. You can download the PDF of today's lecture from my Telegram channel, and you can follow me on Facebook as well. So the first topic is a very new topic. It's about troubled waters of Mediterranean Sea. First of all, let's locate where Mediterranean Sea is. So on your screen, you can see Mediterranean Sea. On the north side, you can see European countries like Spain, Italy, Greece, etc. On the south side, you can see Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, and on this eastern side, you cannot see, but I'm sure you are aware that you find Israel, Lebanon, Syria, Turkey, all these countries here. So the good thing about this region, or the unique thing about this particular sea, is that this region, these countries are, this region, right, you find three cultures or three continents here, right? This is Africa here, this is Asia, and this is Europe. All these three continents, if they meet somewhere at some point, then this is here at Mediterranean Sea. Now, things are not going that well in Mediterranean Sea because recently, and we are talking about last week, Turkey sent its exploration vessel here in Mediterranean Sea, and it was accompanied by a naval fleet. So exploration vessel with naval fleet, that means you are searching for something, but you are also carrying a sword with you. With a magnifying glass, you are also carrying a sword with you. And because Turkey did this thing, France also dispatched its warship to assist Greece. Now, why these things are going on in this Mediterranean region? The reason is that it is estimated that this region has, particularly Eastern Mediterranean region, has a reserve of 3.5 trillion cubic meters of natural reserve, or gases to be particular. And this gas is enough to run United States for nearly a decade. So you can imagine how big reserve we are talking about. So, of course, every stakeholder country would like to get the biggest piece of this pie here. So Egypt, Cyprus, Greece, Turkey, Israel, Lebanon, Jordan, Palestine, as well as European nations are interested in this gas. Now, Egypt has already started to exploit its reserves of gas and oil and is now a regional exporter, because you find gas in Nile Basin as well. Lebanon is been supported by France and Russia, and Lebanon is doing commercial drilling in this region. Now, European Union is interested in buying this particular gas of this Mediterranean region because European Union is heavily dependent on Russia, and it would like to reduce its dependency on Russia. So this is a good alternative, and because of this new gas and estimated reserve of this gas here, European Union has means it is going ahead with this East Med pipeline. On your screen, you can see this pipeline. This picture is from Al Jazeera website, and thanks to Al Jazeera, it's a very interesting, a very you can say to the point infographic. So here you can see Israel, and this is Cyprus here. So this pipeline will connect or it will provide this gas that you find in this region. It will be or this whole region, it will be sold to various different European countries. So this is called East Med pipeline. Med stands for Mediterranean Sea, and it is 1,900 kilometer long pipeline. When European members and its allies in West Asia and North Africa made plans to build a gas pipeline from Mediterranean to Europe's mainland, they kept Turkey out of it. And Turkey is not happy with this thing. In fact, Turkey is appalled, or Turkey is very angry on, it is basically livid on this whole, very angry. To keep it very simple, Turkey is very angry on European Union and other countries of West Asia and North Africa. Turkey and Greece have overlapping maritime claims. Because these countries are not that far from each other, and as I'm sure you know that this is Greece here, then this is Turkey here. So they have their islands, right? They are very close to each other. So territorial clash is something very common, but so far it's not been that aggressive. But now, because of this fuel, things may go in wrong direction. East Med Gas Forum was also formed by Cyprus, Egypt, Greece, Israel, Italy, Jordan and Palestine. And here again, Turkey was excluded from this East Med Gas Forum. And Turkey is again very angry about this thing. Now, Turkey has a very reliable partner in Africa. In North Africa, to be particular, it's Libya. Libya's government is supported by Turkey. So what Turkey has said that you need to extend your claim till here, and then we will claim this part here, so other countries can stay out of our claims. So Turkey has asked Tripoli, that is Libya's capital, or Libyan government to form an exclusive economic zone from its southern shores to Libya's northern coast across the Mediterranean. Greece claimed the Turkish zone violated its maritime sovereignty. Greece is not happy with it because they have this island here called Crete. And Greece is saying that this exclusive economic zone and this continental shelf claim is violating its sovereignty. Greece announced its exclusive economic zone with Egypt, which clashes with Turkey's zone, right? So later on, Greece came out with its own claim, and now it is clashing with Turkey. So you can see here, overall, I believe you got this idea that things are not going in right direction in this region, and it is all because of, as I told you earlier on, that everyone wants the biggest piece of this cake. The highly complicated issue now has the potential to involve Europe, West Asia and North Africa. It is difficult to demarcate the maritime boundaries in the Eastern Mediterranean, which is dotted with Turkish and Greek islands. Cyprus is another country here. Cyprus is physically divided. I'm not sure how many of you are aware about this fact, but this southern part of Cyprus is called Republic of Cyprus, and it is recognized by United Nations. And the northern part is controlled by Turkey. So Turkey's survey ship plans exploration activities around Greece Crete Island, which lies just outside the Turkey's Libya economic zone, as I have just showed you here, right? I've got all these graphics from Al Jazeera. Right, so they are quite informative and easy to understand as well. Now France, right? France is European Union's most powerful military force, and it is supporting Greece as well as Cyprus. Earlier on, I told you that this country called Lebanon is also doing commercial drilling, and it is getting support from France. Of course, Russia is also supporting it, and right in the starting of this discussion, I told you that France also dispatched its warships to assist Greece. So things are not going into right direction here. The best thing is that they need to sit down on a table and they need to sort out this whole thing. But things are going to get more complex and more dirty, I believe, in upcoming future. So moving on to next topic, but before that, dear friends, if you like today's discussion, hit the like button. Please make sure that you share this lecture with other students, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have already subscribed to our YouTube channel, then please ask 3 more students to join our channel or tell them about StudyIQ. Now, this topic is about right to know. I'm sure we know what right to information is all about, but right to know is a base, or if we create layers, then the core is freedom of speech. Based on freedom of speech, we get right to know, and from right to know, we get right to information. Okay? So right to freedom of speech is the core. Then the upper layer is right to know, and from right to know you get a byproduct that is right to information. Keep this circles in your mind, right? And I'm sure by the end of this particular discussion you will know everything about this topic. Now, this particular thing is in news because a high-level committee was formed by Home Ministry back in 2019, 15th July to be precise, and a retired judge of Guwahati High Court was made the chair of this high-level committee, and 2 advocate generals of 2 northeastern states were part of this committee. This committee was supposed to recommend measures to implement Clause 6 of the Assam Accord and to define Assamese people. This committee submitted its final report in mid-February 2020. It handed over its report to Assam Chief Minister, and Assam Chief Minister handed over this report to Union Home Minister on 20th March before lockdown, 5 days before lockdown. Now, since then, this whole report was kept on the desk of Home Ministry, or basically nothing was done on this thing. And AASU, that is All Assam Students Union, they are not happy with this inaction of Home Ministry. So what they have done is that they have released this report on 11th August. The reason they have provided after this release, the first one is that central government did nothing about it, and the second thing is that they have said that it is people's right to know what is in that particular report. So here we are going to focus on right to know. Now, sitting idle is something very common in our country. Vohra Committee report that was about this nexus between politicians and criminals was kept under wraps for almost 2 years, and after big protest after this Naina Shahini's murder, and there was a big public uproar after that, government tabled this Vohra Committee report in the parliament. Now, this particular article is written by a former Chief Justice of our country, and former Chief Justice of our country, that means a Supreme Court judge, of course. So he is pointing or giving us examples of a few cases. The first one is 50 years ago in nearly 50 years ago in 1975, state of Uttar Pradesh versus Raj Narayan case. Supreme Court talked about this right to know. To be precise, Justice Matthew, and his words are here on your screen. The people of this country have a right to know every public act, everything that is done in a public way by their public functionaries. They are entitled to know the particulars of every public transactions in all its bearing. That means when bureaucrats or public servants or public, politicians or ministers, when they are part of any committee or any other committee that is appointed by Home Ministry or anyone, any government, state government or central government, then it is people's right right? It is our right to know what is in that particular report, how government is taking decisions. These are the things that you cannot hide. You have to even share minutes of your meeting. You have to share cabinet papers, foreign office dispatches. Of course, we can understand, like, I'll give you an example. If someone will ask the government using RTI, like what we are doing as far as China is concerned, then government is, of course, going to use secrecy. Government is not going to share its strategy in public because, we don't want China to know how or what we are doing or how we are going to do things. But of course, once this whole this chapter is over, hopefully it will in near future. Once it's over after 2-3 years or maybe 10 years, once we feel like everything is okay now, then we should share minutes or minutes of this meeting, that what are the things that India decided at that point of time, because it is our right to know. Then we have another case of 1981, S.P. Gupta versus President of India. In this case, Justice Venkataramaiah said that the tendency in all democratic countries in recent times is to liberalize the restrictions placed on the rights of the citizens to know what is happening in various public offices. The emphasis now is more on right of a citizen to know than his need to know. His need to know means government will decide what people should know, right? That is more authoritative. Right of a citizen to know is more bottom-up approach, that it is not the government to decide what people should know. It is people's right that they should know everything. They should know if they demand something, if they want to know something, then it should be accessible. And then we have one more case of 1971. This is New York Times versus United States. So when New York Times back in 1971 or before that, when it released a few papers associated with Pentagon, then United States government, federal government was not happy with it, but the Supreme Court of USA said that this belongs to public, and you cannot stop newspapers from sharing this information with public. Justice K.M. Joseph referred to Section 8, Subsection 2 of the Right to Information Act of 2005, which provides that a citizen can get a certified copy of a document even if the matter pertains to security or relationship with a foreign nation, if a case is made out. If everything is over, then you can ask for this sort of documents as well. So here the article is saying that, again, using the words of S.P. Gupta, the case, S.P. Gupta case, observed by Supreme Court in S.P. Gupta case, that when things are executed behind the curtains or behind the veil, when you are doing everything in secrecy, then secrecy will promote and encourage oppression, corruption, misuse or abuse of authority. Moving on to next item, dear friends, it's about Facebook. Now, Facebook is household name in our country. I'm sure every one of us is using, or most of us are using Facebook. For Facebook, India is a very important market because 340 million users are here in India. And when it comes to WhatsApp, which is product of Facebook, 400 million users are just in India alone. Facebook has invested $5.7 billion in Reliance Jio, and recently Facebook is under magnifying glass, is because recently Wall Street Journal report has indicated that Facebook is supporting ruling party, that is BJP. A few days or few weeks ago, BJP lawmaker delivered a hate speech on Facebook platform, but Facebook did nothing about it. And there are so many critics. They have frequently said that Facebook has failed to adequately police hateful and misleading content. Now, we have parliamentary committee and we are going to see a split on it, because BJP members are not going to ask, they are going to say that we don't need to call Mark Zuckerberg or Facebook executives here, and opposition, they are going to demand for executives to present and explain why Facebook is not doing anything about it. The thing is, we cannot let it go freely, right? We have to do a thorough investigation on this thing, because this is not about BJP or Congress, but this is more about our national interest and democratic values. And this is not just Facebook. We find that every social media platform is doing something and they are not able to control hateful, insightful, inaccurate information or fake news, and because of this thing we find riots and murders and harassment and career destructions of so many people in our country. Facebook has made huge amount of money. It is a giant now. Now money is not something that it should chase, or any other company, right, of this size. Their drive should not be just profit. They should also think about society, and they should set benchmarks and standards that other small companies will follow and will see them as lighthouse of character as well as ethics and democratic values. Moving on to the fourth topic, a very interesting new topic. It's about South Korea. It's more about South Korea, like South Korea, what South Korea is doing. And we are going to start with map, of course. So this is China here. You can see North Korea, South Korea, Japan is here. And this is Taiwan. This region is also known as East Asia. Now, Korean Peninsula is no stranger to China's overweening ambition. It has been, Korea was controlled by China, and back in 1895, there was a battle, and Japan won this battle. Korean Peninsula was under control of Japan, and then we know what happened in World War II, and then it became new countries, and then we saw this war of Korean War between North Korea and South Korea, and North Korea was supported by USSR and China. South Korea was supported and is still a very good friend of USA, but things are not going that well because of the behavior of South Korea. South Korea is not doing the things that it should do. Now, South Korea is very well aware about China's aggression in Senkaku Islands, Spratly Islands, East China Sea, South China Sea, as well as with India. So China is very dominant force here, and South Korea is well aware that China is supporting North Korea. China will never leave North Korea. China will always keep North Korea as its very good friend, because it is a trigger that it can use against South Korea. It can control South Korea. It can control USA. Because North Korea is a very aggressive regime, as we all know. Now, free and open Indo-Pacific as well as quadrilateral security dialogue are acquiring form and substance. During this pandemic time, Quad countries, that is USA, Japan, India and Australia, they had these regular consultations, and they also included South Korea. You have this Five Eyes Anglophone intelligence sharing arrangement, in which you have USA, UK, Canada, Australia and New Zealand. And they are also thinking to add countries like India and South Korea in it. And this will be a big boost for South Korea to get military intelligence associated with North Korea. Seoul's participation in Quad Plus format, both at the official as well as ministerial level, highlights its importance as a key member of liberal, democratic as well as economic order. South Korea is a developed country. South Korea is a democratic country. And if South Korea is working with other countries like USA, India, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, then other countries of ASEAN, then that is going to be beneficial. It's going to be win-win for all these democratic as well as developing as well as aspiring as well as developed countries, because China is a big threat, as we all know, isn't it? Now, China is South Korea's biggest trading partner and its top investment destination. So the bad thing, or the thing that I am not happy with South Korea, is because South Korea wants to keep its one foot in China. It wants to keep its trade and everything secured. At the same time, it wants military support from USA as well. And this is creating a clash. So this is South Korea. It wants to keep good relationship with China, trade relationship, as well as it wants to keep good defense relationship, and it wants to prepare and, secure itself from North Korea and other threats. But that is something that you cannot have. You cannot have both these things, right? Because China has misused, or China has, flexed its muscles back in 2017 during this third crisis. Now, give me the full form of third. This is a question for you guys. Stick your answer in the comment section. So when this third crisis took place in 2017, Beijing targeted South Korea's entertainment industry, tourism industry, and other this Lotte, Sheobol, and other things. So it was... it came under pressure, and then South Korea agreed with this three no's: that no additional deployment of THAAD batteries, no integration into US-led regional missile defense system, and no trilateral alliance with USA and Japan. The navies of South Korea, Japan and US have engaged in joint missile warning exercise since June 2016 and joint research a joint search and rescue exercise that is known as SAREX. They do it every year. Since 2014 July, joint chiefs of staff of these three nations, that is South Korea, Japan and USA, they have met several times. And the problem is, the reason why this trilateral thing is not working is because, as I told you, one thing is that South Korea wants to keep security as well as defense and security as well as trade and investment. It wants to protect both these things. Unfortunately, one is US and one supplier is South Korea. So that is a problem. When it comes to Japan, they have this South Korea and Japan, they have in between them traditional rivalry. And because of this traditional rivalry, many a time South Korea is demanding too many things, unreasonable demands. And because of this thing, Japan stopped its supplies of critical materials that are required by Samsung as well as SK Hynix. They produce this dynamic random access semiconductors that are known as DRAMs, and these DRAMs are used by Huawei for its 5G as well as artificial intelligence production, or the equipments that Huawei produces. So because of this sort of thrusting as well as traditional rivalry, this bilateral General Security of Military Information Agreement was also wrecked. But there are some positive signs. D10 club. Remember G7 members during last G7 meeting, USA talked about G10 or G11 or D10 or D11 or G10 or G11. D10 was given by UK. G10 or G11 was given by precisely Mr. Trump. So in G10 or D10, you have India, Australia and South Korea. So again, democratic countries as well as these two are of course developed countries, and India is of course an aspiring country, but very important global player of course. As I told you, Seoul's tightrope walk, I have already explained that defense ties with USA and economic dependence on China. These two things are not working, and this is creating some sort of fault lines as well between USA and South Korea. And these fault lines are good news for China, but not good news for democratic world. South Korea is also, many times talking about promoting this BRI project, and India is not going to be happy about this thing. One thing that South Korea should keep in mind is that free and fair as well as open Indo-Pacific region is going to be very important for its trade as well as energy lanes. And it should work with other democratic countries as well as ASEAN nations and Quad nations. South Korea is a middle power nation, and it can work with Australia, Indonesia. They are part of this MICTA, that is a group of middle powers, right? So its membership of MICTA, the grouping of middle powers, can boost its ties with Australia and Indonesia in Indo-Pacific region. So this tug of war that is going on between the US and China, South Korea has to make its mind. It has to choose one. It cannot have both. Moving on to last topic of the day. It's very out of the box, interesting yet very important topic. This article is written by Ritu Kumar. It's from Hindustan Times. She is a fashion designer. She has created a wardrobe for Miss Universe and Miss World and so many other beauties. Now, in this article, she is talking about traditional textile industry. Now, textile industry is one of the most important industry in our country because it is second largest sector after agriculture. Its potential for creating wealth is huge, enormous. And India must reassess its approach to trade because Chinese products, right? You see, when it comes to firecrackers, Diwali, or Ganesh Puja or any other festivals, till now we used to find this Ganesh ji were made by China and they were exported here. So it's a shame, isn't it, that we are not able to produce this sort of things that we used to produce here in our country since ages, but now we are outsourcing this sort of things just because of cheap merchandise. This may sound cheap, or this may look cheap at surface level, but in long term it is like a cancer. It is going to destroy our economy, and that's what has happened with other countries as well. This article is talking about Europe, Italy. It gives us this example of Europe, Italy, Spain, and France, and other countries. Europe is, of course, an continent, but these countries are part of Europe. But before that, we have to understand that India has a living tradition of handicrafts practiced on everyday basis. And this handicraft is actually inherent intellectual property. We have not cultivated these skills in few years. This thing has been going on in our country since ages, isn't it? Since time immemorial. So we need to protect it, and we need to cultivate it, and we need to protect it from China particularly, because this specialization offers employment to an estimated 16 million people in the country. The relentless growth of fashion empires. When I say Milan Fashion Show, I'm sure you have heard about it. Milan Fashion Show. When I say best perfumes in the world, it reminds us of France. When I say design, it reminds us of Italy. Sunglasses, the big names like Gucci, Versace, and there are so many other brands, right? What we have, Boss, isn't it? There is a company called Boss. Hugo Boss, I think that's it's a French brand. And there are so many other luxurious brands associated with apparels as well as fashion industry. So they used to rule the world, and these brands, they have created billions and billions of dollars for European economy. But this was destroyed by Europe itself, right? In the pursuit of cheap merchandise, what they did, they transferred these skills, these traditional skills, to Chinese people, to Chinese businesses. And what Chinese people did after learning of Chinese businesses, when they learned this art of making perfume and designs and other things, what they started doing is they started making replicas. What replica is, right? Not original, but a duplicate of these brands. And they started selling these items with a tag called made in France and made in Italy, and then people started buying these cheap products. So it destroyed Italian family enterprises and French enterprises, and everything was been built here in this very dark city called Wuhan. Same thing goes with Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan is, or was in fact, it's a part of history, but it was part of this Silk Road route, where silk used to travel from China to various different parts of Europe. So the people of this region, Uzbekistan, they used to have their own traditional kaftans, and they used to make it by themselves. But this writer, Ritu, when she visited Uzbekistan to study more about this traditional ikats and other things, she found that Uzbeki women, they used to wear kaftans manufactured and printed in China. And then she talked about her experience with Banarasi saris. She used to, Banarasi sari, as per her, Ritu, is one of the best in our country that we can get. It is very soft, and anyway, I'm not that much good with ladies' fashion wears, but what she is saying in this article is that she has dropped using Banarasi sari because they are not made by hand anymore. They are made using this Chinese tools. And this reminds us of British era. There was a time when 25% of textile export market was covered by India. But after that, British took over, and our 25% share was reduced to just 2% from 18th to 20th century. And something similar will happen with our this sort of this textile industry, our genuine handicraft or handmade textile industry. So we need to protect it, and the only way to protect it is to put a ban on this import of this Chinese yarns. We have indigenous mulberry silk that you find from Karnataka, and organic ahimsa silk that you find in Terai region. We can use it. And then we have this so many other traditional as well as regional items. They have big market in global platform, but never allow these Chinese people to create its replica. We cannot and we should not teach these traditional skills, our inherent intellectual property. We cannot just give it to them for free. And that's everything from my side. Thank you very much for watching this video. God bless you all. Jai Hind.